She was a giggly little girl who neighbors said was the first in the family to be friendly to you. But did a petty, jealous dispute between moms end her life? This is the story of Bella Fontenelle, the New Orleans 6-year-old whose body was found in a bucket on her mother's lawn. Hi friends, I'm Katie, and this is Katie Does Crime. Thank you for joining me for the first time if you're new here, and hello to the usual rapscallions and reprobates. Please consider subscribing or joining me on Patreon if you'd like to hear more true crime stories. Today's case is one of those that could be extra upsetting. It involves an innocent little girl and a completely senseless loss of life, so I want to warn you if that isn't your thing. Not that it's anybody's thing, but you know what I mean. At 7:30 a.m. on Wednesday, April 26, 2023, Michael Fontenelle walked into the Harahan police station and reported that his girlfriend and youngest daughter were both missing from his home about 11 miles west of downtown New Orleans. His 7-year-old eldest daughter was in the house, but 43-year-old Bunnak Hannah Landon and 6-year-old Bella Fontenelle were nowhere to be seen. Police followed him home to open a missing persons case, not a common thing in their little town of 9,000 people. Michael and Hannah had been dating for years, and in photos they looked like a beautiful family. Hannah in her 40s, dressed in a princess outfit more outlandish than Bella's, holding Michael's hand as they all smile brightly for the camera. Bella doing that sweet but awkward smile that little girls do, while Hannah hugs her in front of a Christmas tree. Bella is dressed like a princess in so many of the photos, surrounded by piles of presents and towers of birthday treats. Her aunt talked about her beautiful little voice, how funny she was, and the way she danced. She called Bella delicate and fragile, an amazing little soul. Bella was a kindergartner at St. Matthew the Apostle School in River Ridge and loved to ride her bike and play with her sister at the nearby levee. In every photo, she looks happy and cared for. But it only took an hour that morning for police to find the little girl. Her body was discovered in the front yard of her mom's house, just a little over a block away from where Bella lived with her dad and Hannah. Bella was wedged into a bucket, the kind for storing chlorine, 10 gallons. When they opened the bucket, there she was, all of 40 pounds, stuffed carelessly inside in the fetal position. The tiny 6-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene. An autopsy report later showed the cause to be manual strangulation with blunt force injuries. It was a homicide. The coroner said Bella had multiple injuries, but thankfully she wasn't dismembered.
They went to the house, started doing canvasses in that neighborhood. The mother of the biological mother of the child lives approximately 1 block away around the corner. So the investigation led to go to that location. Upon arriving at that location, they located best to be able to describe it, maybe a 10-gallon bucket. It's a chlorine bucket, large, a little larger than a 5-gallon bucket on the front lawn of the mother's house. When they opened up that bucket, they found the 6-year-old deceased inside that bucket.
As the police questioned neighbors, they found some very telling Ring doorbell camera footage. It showed Hannah marching down the street at 9:35 p.m. in a red shirt, black pants, and knee-high white boots. She's pulling a child's wagon behind her down the street, beside the green grass and the sprawling trees of the well-lit neighborhood. The bucket is in the back of that wagon. Now suddenly things made sense. After midnight on Wednesday, Hannah had walked into the local police station needing help. The chief said she seemed a little bit out of it, but that sometimes happens in the middle of the night. She wanted to be taken to the hospital, so they called an ambulance to take her in for an evaluation. So that's how they knew where to find her after 8:20 a.m. when Bella's body was discovered in the bucket. Investigators tracked Hannah down at the hospital that day and arrested her. Hannah Landon has been charged with first-degree murder and obstruction of justice and is being held without bail. The first-degree charge was handed down because the victim is under the age of 12, and this charge could result in the death penalty. After extensive interviews, authorities don't believe Bella's biological mother and father have anything to do with the murder, partly because Hannah has a little bit of history with violence. In March of 2021, Hannah and Bella's mom got into a physical fight at Bella's soccer game, and Bella's mom allegedly said, "I will hurt you." Later that summer, Bella's aunt allegedly grabbed Hannah and shoved her. In both accounts, Hannah is accusing Bella's biological family of being the aggressors. But the thing is that Hannah refused to cooperate with the police after these incidents, wouldn't allow them to check her for injuries, and couldn't get anyone else to back up her story. On one hand, she told police that she had recorded one of the incidents, and on the other hand, she told police that she didn't have a phone, so they couldn't call her. So, which was it? Hannah attempted to get a permanent restraining order against Bella's mom and aunt after she said she was attacked without any provocation, but it was Bella's aunt who was left with pulled hair and scratches below her eye and on her hand. The temporary restraining order was later terminated, and Hannah wasn't allowed to sue for damages. A neighbor says Hannah had shared details of her stressful divorce, but that the family seemed to be working through it, moving forward, all American and apple pie. Their cozy one-story home had checkered bows around the front door and porch lights. Authorities think Hannah killed little Bella at this house on Tuesday evening and then moved the body from there. Hannah didn't appear in court in April when she was first scheduled to because she's being watched for self-harm. Her lawyers have requested access to a psychiatrist for her. She's scheduled to be back in court on May 9th. In the report for one of the altercations between Hannah and Bella's biological mom, it seems that the fight stemmed from the right to hug Bella at a swim meet. That day, Hannah was holding Bella, and Bella's mom wanted to hug her. Hannah said that it was their custody weekend with Bella, so it was up to Bella's dad. He said Bella's mom could hug her for 1 minute, and Hannah sat recording the hug on her phone. Bella's mom held up her hand to block the device, and Hannah slapped her hand away. You can imagine how well that went over. It feels to me like Hannah was a woman who was desperate to prove her place in Bella's life. It's hard enough being the stepmom sometimes, but Hannah wasn't even that, just the girlfriend of Bella's dad. Maybe she felt like she had no standing in the family, so she decided to take the power, and beloved little Bella took the brunt of it. What strikes me is the way Hannah walks down the street in the doorbell camera footage. She's wearing her white cowboy boots, hardly trying to blend in, as she marches with such purpose to Bella's mom's house to dump the bucket. She's pulling the body of a little girl behind her, but she doesn't show any shame, doesn't even try to move out of the way as a car drives down the same street. She allegedly beat and strangled a tiny child. No weapons, just her hands. I wonder if it made her feel like she'd won, like she'd defeated Bella's mom. Like, if you mess with me, here's what happens. I'm only relieved that Bella's mom wasn't the one to find her on the lawn in a bucket. As of today, the GoFundMe for Bella's funeral expenses has reached over $37,000 to go to Bella's mom. It makes you wonder about the relationship between Hannah and Bella's dad. Did he suspect anything? From what I can gather, he appears to be an accountant. One news source says that he came home late Tuesday night and went straight to bed, so he didn't realize anything was amiss until he woke up the next morning. Was Hannah in bed with him at the time and then later got up around midnight to go to the police station and asked to be taken to the hospital? And then it's interesting to me that when he woke up on Wednesday and noticed Hannah and Bella weren't there, he immediately went to the police. I feel like I would just assume that they had run an errand or something equally as innocent. It makes me wonder if he saw something in the house that tipped him off. Was Hannah ever violent toward the kids before, or was this purely to get back at Bella's mom? I'd love to know your thoughts and theories about this case as we await more information. Let me know what you think happened in the comments. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm just a true crime fan like you are, and I really appreciate you taking a chance on me. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you liked spending this time together. I'd be so appreciative. Until next time, I'm Katie, and this has been Katie Does Crime.
Hi, y'all. Thank y'all for coming here this afternoon. I'm Sheriff Joseph Pinto, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. I'm here with the Harahan Police Chief, Ed LaPree, the Jefferson Parish Coroner, Jerry Sutanovich, Harahan Mayor, Tim Baudier, and Jefferson Parish Councilman, Dino Bonanno. Here to announce a very sad case in the city of Harahan, which occurred last night and this morning. Earlier today at around 7:30 a.m., a father walked into the Harahan Police Department to report his child, along with his 43-year-old girlfriend, missing. When he woke up this morning, the 6-year-old and the 43-year-old were not in the house, although an older child was still in the house there. Reported it to the Harahan Police Department. They started investigating it as a missing person. They went to the house, started doing canvases in that neighborhood. The mother of the biological mother of the child lives approximately 1 block away around the corner. So the investigation led to go to that location. Upon arriving at that location, they located best to be able to describe it, maybe a 10-gallon bucket. It's a chlorine bucket, large, a little larger than a 5-gallon bucket on the front lawn of the mother's house. When they opened up that bucket, they found the 60-year-old deceased inside that bucket. Turned into a homicide investigation. Obviously, at that point, homicide detectives from Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office were called out to the scene. We utilized not only our resources with the Sheriff's Office, but also used the Major Crimes Task Force to come out and try to start canvassing the neighborhood, which our attention was drawn very quickly to the missing girlfriend, who is now missing in action. Right, we could not necessarily find her. We were able to find numerous video from different households in the neighboring area, which showed her pulling a wagon down late last night with the bucket inside the back of that wagon. Ended up performing an autopsy today on the child, and we can classify the child's death as a homicide at this point in time. We ended up doing extensive interviews with both the mother and the father, the biological mother and the father. We do not believe that they are involved in any foul play involved with the death of Miss Bella Fontenelle, who is the 6-year-old that is deceased. Those interviews also continue to lead us in our investigation, looking for the suspect in this case, which I have 3 different names. Hannah Landon, which is an American name. She is described as an Asian female. Hannah Landon, Hannah, last name Landon, Landon, also known as Bunnak Lim, Bunnak, last name Lim, or Bunnak Landon, 43-year-old Asian female. As we were doing our best in order to locate her around 2 o'clock this afternoon, we were notified that she was possibly at one of our local hospitals. We were able to locate her at one of the local hospitals. She is now in JPSO custody, where she'll hopefully later be booked with at least 1 count of first-degree murder and obstruction of justice. Got a lot of different evidence with a lot of different scenes here, that we'll continue to work through. But of course, we have an arrest, and we have, more tragically, the death of the 6-year-old, which is going to be a big shock to the small community of Harahan. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief LaPree for any questions, and I'll take some questions afterwards, Joe.
Thank you, Sheriff. My name is Ed LaPree. I'm the Harahan Police Chief. This morning I was out of town at a conference, an FBI conference down in Orlando. I got a call from my staff in reference to a missing child. Immediately after learning more information, I reached out to the sheriff and the other chiefs that were with me at the conference. All offered to help. The sheriff and his staff, I can't thank them enough for coming in and working with our guys. Our guys responded. They were doing the right things. We just needed a little extra help, and I appreciate the sheriff for coming in and offering the assistance to develop this case. They were keeping me abreast on the hour. They got me an earlier flight. I just got back in from out of town, but I appreciate everything. The city of Harahan is still safe. It is a safe city. There's no threat to the public right now. There is an arrest. There is a case being worked. The sheriff, as we get more information, and if it's necessary to report, we will. But at this time, I appreciate all the outside agencies that came in, gave assistance to us. We're a small town. We're a safe town, and I just want the citizens to know that my heart and my prayers go out to the family of this child. This is a senseless type incident that happened, but I can assure you that the Harahan Police Department and the Sheriff's Office are there for the family, and we keep them in our prayers, and I thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Jerry Satanovich, Jefferson Parish Coroner. I want to start off by saying thank you to everybody involved in this case, from the 911 dispatchers to EMS to law enforcement, and last but not least, the people in my office. Cases like this are hard. We're parents, brothers, sisters, so it's very difficult, and it affects everybody. So thanks to all of them, and they're very much appreciated for what they do. The young lady, the decedent, is Bella Fontenelle. That's Bella. Last name is Fontennelle, 6-year-old female. The manner of death is homicide. She has multiple injuries, and I'm not going to get into details regarding the injuries because this is still a fluid investigation with a lot of interviews that have yet to happen. So those details will come out. We're not, hiding them. We're just delaying the release of those. Thank you very much.
I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Sheriff, why was Miss Landon or Miss Lim, why didn't she go to the
I'm not going to release that at this point in time. As I said, the arrest has just been made on her in the last couple of hours, so we haven't had the opportunity to interview her, although we're going to attempt that. So that's part of the reason that we're not releasing the cause of death, of injuries, and some of those information. So I'll probably will release that to you at the appropriate time, but right now it's not the appropriate time.
Sheriff, you said the bucket was found in the yard of
It was in the front yard of the biological mother's house.
of the little girl.
Yeah, so we believe the child was killed at the father's house, which happens to be about a block away, and then transported over to the mother's house, and then taken out of a wagon. Actually, is how it was transported.
Is her home on Sedgefield and the father?
The father is on Donlin. The mother is on Sedgefield. That's correct.
Do you know if the girlfriend had planned anything, or do you have a possible motive?
I don't have any information to be able to share, as that interview has not happened yet.
Or any chance that it could have been accidental, or is that
I
possibility
don't
y'all
believe.
looking into?
No, I think the coroner made it clear. I think the manner of death is certainly a homicide.
Was there issues with the girlfriend and the biological mother, and why was the child placed on the mother's front lawn?
I don't know the answers to that yet.
Do you know if the girlfriend lived with the child and
Yes, the
mother?
the girlfriend lived with the father, the biological father, and I believe they had joint custody. So at both times lived with both
Did
parties.
biological mother find the bucket? Was she home at the time? Or
She was home. Harahan Police Department was there with her, but she was home at the time. That's correct.
Was she the one that found
I don't know exactly. I think that bucket was determined by him. I don't know who opened it, to be honest with you.
Can you talk any more about the mental state of the girlfriend?
No, not yet. I mean, again, this has all happened within the last couple hours. Really, she got to our detective bureau while we were here. So, I mean, let my detectives work for a little bit.
Where's the dad right now?
Dad, again, went through extensive interviews today. I don't know if he's been released yet, but he should be released. Fully cooperative from that standpoint. Don't believe he was involved in the murder by any means. But I don't know if he's. When I left the detective bureau, he was still there, but he certainly could have been released by now.
Sheriff, and the other.
emotions today?
What's that?
Can you talk about his emotions today with that?
Oh, I mean, look, you can imagine. I mean, I'm not going to speak for him, but I mean, both him and the mother are certainly extremely upset, which you would imagine on any person that lost a 6-year-old unexpectedly.